Welcome back to PaperbackRain. In our last video, we covered the historical context, background, and major themes of The Owl and the Nightingale. Today, we are diving into the actual text. Because this medieval poem is quite long, we are breaking our line by line breakdown into two parts. Let's open up the text and get straight into stanza 1. So let's break down each line of the stanza. As I walked out one summer day. So this line sets the scene. The speaker is describing a moment when they went outside on a sunny, warm summer day. Then the second line is, I heard in a nook well hidden away. Here the speaker reveals that they heard something interesting. The place where they heard it was a small secluded corner or a hidden spot. We know this from the line, a nook well hidden away. This suggests that the conversation wasn't in an obvious or easily accessible place. Then the third line is hot words of disagreement sail. The phrase hot words refers to passionate or intense speech, indicating that the conversation was heated. Sail here metaphorically means that these words were moving or being exchanged with strong emotions, as if carried through the air. Then we have between an owl and the nightingale. The source of the heated words is revealed to be a disagreement between two very different birds, an owl and a nightingale. This sets up a contrast between the two birds, which might symbolize differing viewpoints or personalities. So basically, the stanza describes a moment when the speaker, while enjoying a summer day, accidentally overhears a dramatic and emotional argument between an owl and a nightingale in a secretive, out of the way location. So the first line, that is, the fight was fierce and strong and proud. So this line describes the nature of the argument. It was intense, that is, fierce, powerful, strong, and each bird was very confident or boastful in their manner, that is, proud. So the fight was not trivial or minor, it was a serious and robust confrontation. So then we have the second line, which is sometimes soft and sometimes loud. So the argument varied in its intensity. At times, the birds argued in a softer, perhaps more subtle way, that is, in a soft way. And at other times, their exchange became more vigorous and noisy, that is, loud. This shows the dynamic nature of their disagreement. Then we have each bird swelled up against her foe. Here, swelled up suggests that each bird puffed up or grew in size, symbolizing their pride or anger. Then we have the phrase against her foe. So this indicates that each bird saw the other as an opponent or enemy, emphasizing the adversarial nature of their dispute. Then finally we have, and out they let their venom go. So this line uses venom metaphorically to describe the harmful or the bitter remarks they made. The birds were not only arguing but also releasing their negative feelings or harsh words against each other. So overall, this stanza paints a vivid picture of a fierce and dynamic argument between the owl and the nightingale. Their fight fluctuates in intensity and volume, with both birds showing great emotion and expressing their hostility through sharp, biting words. Okay, so now the next stanza reads, against what points the one might score. So this line suggests that the argument involves specific points or issues. Points here refers to the arguments or the claims one bird might make. The use of score implies that the debate is competitive, like a contest, where each side tries to win or prove their point. Then we have the next line. The other said all she knew and more. So in response to the points made by one bird, the other bird countered with everything she knew, and she even went beyond that. This shows that the second bird was not only addressing the points made, but also adding more information or arguments to strengthen their position. Then we have, and hour on hour the two birds song. So this line indicates that the argument continued for a long time. The phrase hour on hour emphasizes the debate went on for a considerable period. The two birds' song refers to the ongoing exchange of words, metaphorically likened to a song because of its rhythmic and continuous nature. Then finally we have kept the battle going strong. So what this line means is that the argument remained vigorous and active throughout the time. Kept the battle going strong means that the debate did not weaken or die down. Instead, it stayed intense and persistent. In conclusion, this part of the stanza describes how the argument between the owl and the nightingale was sustained and competitive. Each bird tried to outdo the other by presenting detailed arguments, and their debate continued energetically for hours. Then we have the second stanza. So the first line is: The nightingale began the match. This line indicates that the nightingale started the argument or match. In this context, match is used metaphorically to mean the beginning of a contest or a debate. So then the second line is: Off in a corner on a fallow patch. So the nightingale began her part of the argument in a secluded or a less notable area, off in a corner. That's what we have discussed earlier as well. So the fallow patch actually refers to a piece of land that is left uncultivated or idle, suggesting a natural or untended place where the nightingale chose to make her stand. Then the next line is: sitting high on the branch of a tree. So the nightingale was positioned prominently or elevated on a branch of a tree. This imagery emphasizes her as being in a commanding or advantageous position, looking down upon the scene of the argument. Then we have the next line: where blossoms bloomed most handsomely. So the tree branch where the nightingale was perched had beautiful flowers blooming around it. So this description adds a touch of beauty and suggests that the nightingale's location was visually appealing and serene, contrasting with the intensity of the argument. So next we have above a thick protective hedge. So the nightingale's perch was located above a dense protective hedge. This hedge serves as a barrier or a shield, adding a sense of security or separation from the surroundings. Then finally we have grown up in rushes and green sedge. So here hedge was made up of green rushes and green sedge, which are types of plants. This detail paints a picture of the hedge as being lush and natural, reinforcing the secluded and protected environment where the nightingale started the argument. So basically, this stanza describes the setting from which the nightingale initiated the debate. She began in a hidden and beautiful corner of nature, perched high in a tree, surrounded by blooming flowers and protected by a thick hedge. This setting highlights her position and contrasts between the peaceful surroundings and the heated nature of the argument. And that brings us to the completion of the second stanza, wrapping up the opening round of argument between the owl and the nightingale. We are pausing here for today, and for the continuation of our education series, I'll see you all next week. Make sure to subscribe, save the playlist, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.